Well, welcome back everybody. This is part 3, or it can actually be a standalone video of its own, because what we're going to do right now is we're going to do the filtering process in preparation to start our aging process for the spirit that we just ran this morning. You can see the clock behind me. I'm still on that same day, so we're trying to do it all and get it done and show you each one step by step. Now, the first thing I want to do is I wanted to show you, here's what I've got out here. I've got some distilled water. You can use regular water, tap water. If the water tastes fine, it's going to be okay. If you put nasty tasting water in your spirits, you're going to have nasty tasting spirits. All right. I've got a test cylinder here, and I've already filled it up with just water. And the reason I filled it with water is because I wanted to demonstrate something. I get this call regularly, and we've got a hydrometer. And this is a hydrometer for beer and wine and for fermenting. It's your fermentation hydrometer. And then we've got the proof and trail hydrometer. Now, there are two different scales. And a lot of people, they still get them confused. I'm going to demonstrate this so you can see, because the scales actually fit like this. You know, that alcohol is a lot thinner than water. So that's why one scale ends and the next scale starts. So what would happen, here's the question, what would happen and where would it float if I drop in the proof and trail hydrometer? Okay, let's try. If I drop in the proof and trail hydrometer, which is used after distillation, that it bobs way, way high, or it reads really, really low. So it reads the data point which indicates the gravity for water. 0. So this scale starts at 0 and goes to 200 on one side and goes from 0 to 100 on the other side, you know, proof and trail. Okay, now to prove that the two scales are different, if I drop this hydrometer in this test cylinder, where would it float? Yep, I think you guessed correct. It will float at the data point that we consider water, which is 1.000. You'll see how far down this one floats. So what do you think's going to happen if you drop this hydrometer into spirits? Yep, it's going to hit the bottom and lay down there. It'll never give you a reading. What do you think's going to happen to this hydrometer if you drop it in a bucket you're getting ready to ferment? Yep, it's going to float high and you'll never get a reading. Okay, so we got that out of the way. We're not going to use the hydrometer, the gravity hydrometer for brewing beer, wine, a mash, for fermentation. We're going to set that aside so we don't confuse them. We're going to use the proof and trail hydrometer. And in cutting, the first thing you've got to do before you filter is, because alcohol is so much thinner than water, any filtering that you do, if you choose to filter, I only filter because it's a process. I'm very comfortable and confident that my product is very clean, it's have a good taste, but I'm gonna filter anyway, just because I got a filter to do it with. And I'm showing you this. I use the 0 water filter because it's a 5-stage filter, and for me it works perfect. Now, will a Brita work? Absolutely. The many different filters do not use the charcoal for fish tanks. Believe it or not, charcoal for filtering and charcoal for a fish tank filter is totally different. That's a science project that I don't want to get involved in. All right, so we've got my spirit, and I've got to bring this down to about 110. You don't want to, when you filter a spirit, since the spirit is lighter than water, if it's too light, which means if the proof is too high, it'll whiz right by all the charcoal and it won't take out any of the impurities. So you've got to have it down to at least 110 or lower in order for your filter to work in your favor. Now, every time you use a filter, that's why I say run it through just once, because you can lose anywhere from 5 to 10 proof points. Look, it doesn't matter. we're talking ounces overall compared to what you've got. So here's what we got to do. First, we got to get this down to about 110. So let's find out what it starts off as. And I should be using that funnel. That would be a dandy thing to do. I'll give her a spin. And you're just gonna have to trust me. I'm gonna read it for you. This whole batch is 130 proof. So I just know normally just by feel or experience about how much it's gonna take in order to bring that to 110. So I'm gonna pour in what I think is the appropriate amount of water to bring that to 110. Now we're gonna do this again after the filtering. And what that's going to do is we're going to bring it down to 80. So I've got that in there. Probably don't have to do much of this, but I will. Get that mixed. Yeah, I'm going to use it this time. Only because, you know, that's a heavy jug there. There we go. All right, let's see how close I am. I got some air bubbles in there. I'm just trying to get to an average. And we are right below 110. Let's see, I'd call that probably about 105, 106. All right, so I'm well on my way. Anything below 110, you can filter it with no problem. Now, again, at the very end, we're going to cut this again from what it is down to 80, and that's going to be our consuming. So we won't start any of the aging process until we get this down to 80 proof. So let's add this to the filter. Now, here's my caution about using this filter. If you use this filter at home, and it's a great filter, it's a zero water filter. I mean, they really are good. But if you're using it and, you know, the kids are making Kool-Aid or something like that, man, change out the filter. There's going to be some residual alcohols left in that filter. Unfortunately, they're just there. And, you know, if you stick it back in the refrigerator and the kid's going to use that same filter to make some Kool-Aid, that's going to be some good Kool-Aid. And you don't want that to happen. So make sure you separate your filters. All I do now is pour this in and allow this to run through that filter, and that'll take, oh, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes. Who knows? We'll find out because we got the clock up there. So I'll let this run through, and we will be back most directly. Well, we've been at this for just a little while. You can see that this is starting. My container's starting to fill up, and it's draining through beautifully. What I did was I put a couple of blocks of wood because I like watching it flow through. That just, to me, just is good. Now, I drew some off just to show you that there is a slight difference. I lost like 5 proof points. I'm now at, remember before it was like 105, 107 or so. I'm right now at like 101. So I'm fine with that. That's the cost of filtering and getting out all of those nasty things, I guess. I'm real happy with this. So we'll be back shortly, and we're going to cut this down to 80 proof and start the aging process. All right, I've removed the filter because we're all finished. What I'm going to do is put this back in here. We already know now that this is about 101 proof, but it's filtered, and it didn't take that long. This zero water filter works pretty well, and it works pretty quick too. And you only have to go once. So I'm just going to, oh boy, I hate when it does that adhesion when it pours off the end. There we go. You lose a little bit. Now is when I don't like losing any. So I can set that aside. Yeah. All right. So we know what we've got here. We know we've got 101 proof of filtered spirits. So I'm going to need to bring this down to about 80 because that's the way I like it. Some people like it at 90, some 85, some even a little bit lower. Once you get below probably about 70, you can really taste that it's watered down. So I wouldn't go that low. Hey, here's a tip for you though. You know that these things have an internal mechanism, the hydrometer, for some reason, and it works really well. When you lay it down on a table, a daggone thing will take off on you and it'll roll. And you know what happens when it hits the floor? It busts. So here's my recommendation. I don't know why and when you get these, buy 2 of them. I don't know why it is, but and the same thing with the hydrometer. Buy 2 of them because you're going to break one. Now, here's what's happened to me. I bought 2 of them, 2 of each, and guess what? I still got 2 of each. But lo and behold, if you only buy 1 of each, you're going to break one of them. I don't know how, I don't know why. Okay, another topic. All right, let's do some cutting because I know I got to get her cut down. Now, remember, this was made out of blueberry. So here's the question. Is it going to taste like blueberry? Well, we've distilled it, so not necessarily. It's going to have a blueberry character. I get this question a lot. If I make it out of apple, is it going to taste like apple? And most people like that idea that it's going to taste like apple. Look, all spirits made in the world will start off this color, absolutely crystal clear. Everything that's done to this is done after the distillation. So what I'm explaining to you is if I took a sugar wash and ran it, put it here, and put a sugar wash next to it that's run, distilled, they would look exactly alike. But the difference is that this one would have a blueberry character and the sugar wash would not. Now what that means is that if I add a blueberry essence or a blueberry flavoring, that it would take on that flavor more dramatically than in the sugar wash. You see, the sugar wash would just taste like alcohol with blueberry in it. This one would taste like blueberry. The same thing with apple. So if you distill with apples, and when you're finished, you're not necessarily going to drink it and go, wow, that's apple. You may notice a hint, and we call that the character of that flavor because it carries that flavor over, unless you use a reflux still, which strips every bit of that. But we did not. We used a pot still. So I've got some character here that I can play with if I want to. Now, all right, we've got that mixed. Let's give it a hit, and as in mix. We'll pour some into our cylinder, and we'll see where we're at. Now remember, our goal is 80 proof. I've had people ask for 85, 90. I got one guy says, man, get that stuff to me at 160. I'll take it any day. I love it. I drink to enjoy it. I don't drink to get drunk. So, to each his own. Okay, we'll float that guy, and we are at 90. Okay, so it looks like we're going to need another jug. Because I've got to cut some more of this down to about 90. I mean, about down to 80, because we're right now at 90. So it's going to take at least, it'll probably take that, well, I'm going to give it a try. It'll take that much more water at least. So that's going to leave me with, a good 4 quarts and maybe just a little bit more. Now remember, we predicted 6 to 7 quarts, which is a good run. But remember, I stopped it at 100 proof. Because I didn't want to. Now I'm going to probably need another jug. All right, let's do this. I'll split them and then do them separately. Since I know that the jug in my right hand is 90 proof. Doggone it. The jug in my left is also going to be 90 to get started. And I do this by sight. I mean, yes, there's a calculator for this. You can go to homedistillers.org. There's a calculator for how much you have here, how much water it takes if you want to be that precise. But I've got a pretty good eye for guessing. That's probably down where I need it to be. And if it goes too low, that's why I'm doing one first. See, I can always add some more of this back in here. It's another one of them times I should probably be using the funnel. All right. Proof and trail hydrometer goes in, and my friends, we are at 80 proof. Okay, this one's perfect. This one's at 80. So, and it appears as though, yeah, we have less in this one, so I'm going to have to eyeball that as a guess to bring this down to 80. And I think that will probably do it. Yeah, let me take my own advice. Use a funnel. I just like the way those bubbles disappear. It really is a sweet thing. All right, let's give that a try. Now, if this is below 80, I don't have anything to put back in it, so I got to be pretty much on. Look at that. Bam. Experience pays off. I'm right at 80. So now I've got these two at 80. I'm ready to do the next step. We're going to start the aging process. Now, I wanted to talk about aging real quick because this is an important aspect. There's a couple of different ways to age. We like to introduce things to as a catalyst to sort of move that aging process on. Now, I'm not going to fill that all the way up because, yeah, I'll still wind up with 4.5 quarts. Yeah, that's good. All right, now, there are distilleries that say that they'll age in a cask for 7 years before they produce it as a product. And that's one way of doing it, and that's absolutely true. I mean, there are distilleries that just have barns full of barrels that are just aging, and they're waiting, and then they rotate them every once in a while. They go in and rotate them. But there's another way of aging that is strictly legal, and you can call it what you want. Matter of fact, I got to answer the phone. I'll be right back. But now we've got everything down to 80 proof. Let's talk about aging. Now, there's there's really two primary methods, and then one that home distillers use a lot because we can advance the aging process. We can really reduce that and shorten that. But let me show you how that's done on a commercial level. Now, the first one is pretty cut and dry. You fill a barrel with whatever you'll fill it with, and you store it at the right temperature and humidity. So for 7 years, and you got a 7-year aged, single malted or blended spirit. Now, of course, during that period of time, a little bit will escape, and they call that the angel's share. Now, there's another way to do this, and it's strictly legal. Not every distillery does the same thing. They all have their own practices. But think about this. And I'm going to try to demonstrate this. Let's say, for instance, this is 2018. Well, let's go back. Let's say this is 2000. This is the year 2000. And this is the barrel. And I fill the barrel in the year 2000. Well, what I'll do is if I take that barrel and I split it between two other barrels, after a year, and it's now 2001, and I split that barrel into two barrels. So I got 2 half barrels now. And then I attach, in those half barrels, I attach a barrel, and I let this drain into both of these. So what do I have now? I've got 2001. It's now 2001, and these are from 2000. What I have is actually, legally, I have a 2000 vintage, 2 gallon or two barrels of it of 2000, because it's now blended, and half of the whole batch is from the year 2000. Now, what happens in year 2002. Well, we kind of do the same thing. Now, these can stack up as many as 30 or 40. And just stop and think about how that means that what you take off this will always be the year 2000 vintage. Because everything that goes into here is always mixed with that 2000, and it becomes that age. So it works its way all the way through. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I can't remember the name of it. It's a stacking aging process. So that's one way of doing that. So on to bigger and better things now, and these are just jars of things I got stashed around. Let's move on to our aging process. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we take, if there's any bite out of it, I always recommend to do this, it's glycerin. Glycerin is a byproduct. You can find it in the grocery store. Usually you'll find it in the medical section. It's a product that's derived from, it's vegetable or animal. It would really make no difference, but it's in almost every product that you consume or use on your body throughout the entire industry. It's universal. So it's perfectly safe, and it's really good. What it does is, see, this is one of those old tricks that they won't tell you about. They're like, I'll tell you everything you know, but I'm not going to tell you everything I know. And we're going to tell you everything we know. And I've been doing this for years. But this, if you have some that you take a drink of it, you got that bite on the back, use a little bit of glycerin, and that'll smooth that out. Now, it's about 2 ounces per gallon, and I do this normally to taste. But I've got 4 ounces here, so, and you'll notice that goes in. Now, if you've ever had a liqueur has a lot of glycerin in it. And glycerin is a little sweet too, and so it'll leave a residual sweetness. And the more you put in, the thicker your spirit becomes, like a liqueur. The sweeter it becomes, and there we go. I've got just about 2 ounces, because I'm gonna wind up filling this completely when I'm done. There we go. All right. Now, if I ever need more, I can just throw some more in there. It's perfectly okay. Now, what we'll do is now it does really 2 things. It will take out the bite. It'll smooth out your shine. And it is also used as a catalyst. It's a catalyst for the aging process. I use medium oak chips. And I recommend the medium oak chips because, to me, the light oak chips are really light, and that's fine. The dark oak chips are exactly that. They are really dark, and they've got a really strong woodsy flavor to them. And the medium oak chips, to me, is just kind of like, okay, they're just in the middle. I'll leave it on here, and I'll shake it up. Every time I walk by, I'll shake the jug, just because it's sitting there. It's not going to hurt it. But I'll leave them on there for probably 4 or 5 days, and then I'll strain them off. I don't want it to become too woodsy, but I want to get that oak imparted in there, and it'll make it like a really nice single blended whiskey. So, and 2 ounces per gallon on this, but I just go usually by sight in handfuls. And I'll throw a couple of handfuls in there. And this won't take too long. You'll see this in about 20 minutes. You'll start to see this brown hue start to develop, a yellowish brownish hue. And it's a really neat thing to watch. Let me see. Yep. I can get quite a few of them in there. There we go. Now I'm going to top that off. And then this will start the aging process. Now, I can age this just like this. Look at that. I got a full gallon. Good. Now, I can age this just like this for about a week, and then put it in the barrel and let the barrel do the rest of the work. And if you're aging in a barrel, a 3-liter barrel is about 20 days. That's the small barrels, because you got a lot more, you're in contact. Dude, it looks like we are at the end of this process, and I'm just gonna give that a shake because I can. It's a beautiful thing. And so if you haven't had an opportunity, please that way. Yeah, subscribe. When the bell comes up, if you click the bell, that's a notification bell. And every time we post a video, you'll get notified. So we appreciate all the views. We appreciate the comments below. That's great. Or, of course, you've got my email. Until next time, happy distilling.